So let's talk about this article from NewRepublic.com by Seth Simons. Have you read this article? Have you read this?
Can I summarize? I know I haven't, but let me guess.
Sure.
Comedy is toxic. The Stand bad. The Stand bad. Comedy toxic. Gas Digital bad. Louis J. Gomez bad. Toxic masculinity and comedy bad.
The comedy industry has a big problem.
It's like I could write your life story for you, Seth. You are literally the most one-note douchebag on the planet.
How safe spaces for transgressive humor, both online and in real life, help breed a hateful ideology.
This guy just won't stop, man.
In the dark recesses of the internet lurks a man who goes by toxic cis white male fat. He's made his home on the ONAforums.net, a community named after the shock jock duo Opie and Anthony. A safe space to say what cannot be said offline. He's posted in threads like N-word hate thread #1, the K-word hate thread. Juno comes out as a...
Wait, did the O&A people really just buy a message board and make subsections called N-word hate and K-word hate?
Well, in threads. There was a thread called N-word hate thread, the K-word hate thread, and also Juno comes out as... and official post-election voter fraud thread, where he called Joe Biden a who's about to die in the Oval Office.
That's the O&A subreddit. Well, the whatever message board.
Elsewhere, he derided the COVID-19 vaccine, which he calls juice.
So wait a minute. Has Seth Simons now to the point where he's just now picking out random message board posters?
That is correct.
And writing entire articles about them?
Yes.
Hey, Seth, this is why nobody respects you. And it's weird, right? Because you failed at comedy, so then you went into journalism for comedy, but you're failing at journalism. So you're like a man without a world. You're like the Stringer Bell of the comedy industry. You're not quite gangster enough for one world, and you're not quite the businessman enough for the other. You're a man without a country. Seth, nobody likes you, not even your editor that has to fucking post these shit stories.
Hey, at least Stringer Bell went to college.
Good point.
Elsewhere, he derided the COVID-19 vaccine, which he calls juice. And I quote, chinky sauce.
Chinky sauce?
Maybe he's writing this stuff because it's fucking hilarious. Last year, he revealed that his Twitter account, AP Von Tarkson, the username matches a commentator on Thought Catalog, which toxic cis white male fat has said he trolled after it retracted a transphobic essay by the Proud Boys founder Gavin McInnes.
Gavin.
His contributions there were more of the same. Under a 2015 post titled, "When You Love the Chase," he once commented, "There is not more despicable human on earth than a fat white N-word fucker. Get an AIDS test. You have it." The internet can sometimes be one big rabbit hole, and if you make it down to the bottom, waiting for you as a person at the bottom of mine was toxic cis white male fat. I've spent the last 5 years writing about the comedy industry, and the last 3 or so covering inequality and extremism within it. Yeah, because you're not fucking doing comedy anymore, obviously.
$10 says this guy's just Nick Mullen.
This
was anonymously posting on the boards.
This work has periodically brought me in contact with some of the leading lights in the scene's transgressive edge. The place where popular mainstream comedy bleeds into the kind of right-wing politics that animated the Capitol riot last month. It's a place hostile to prying eyes, and the blowback can be furious. I have been harassed and trolled on social media, mostly by Louis J. Gomez, though. I have been doxxed as have members of my family, and eventually I found my way to message boards where toxic cis white male fat, who I have a reason to believe thought I cannot definitively prove is the person at the heart of the New York City club comedy scene. Oh, you're about to get there.
Can I just point out something before we get into all of the parts of this article that I will predict 100% accurately? Sure. Because Seth Simons, again, is just a one-night note broken record. Seth Simons is... You know when there's like a kid, right, that's just getting his ass beat every day in school, right? And because there is a difference between just brutally picking on the same kid every day. But I'm sure you remember growing up, and I remember growing up. There was always that kid that would get bullied, but like he'd start it. There was always kids like that that would like they'd put themselves in situations to be bullied.
Yeah.
It's not like some kids went, "Hey, loser, we're beating you up today." It's the kid that was like, we didn't get all the homework, or it's the kid that tattles, or it's the kid that like says some shit to the fucking other kids, and then they start beating him up every day. Then he goes to the principal and goes, I'm being bullied every day. And it's like, but you're just don't engage. Like Louis J. Gomez didn't just go like, hey, let's fuck with Seth Simons, doggy. Like he just kept needling them, and then they all started mocking him mercilessly. And then he's like, but I got doxxed. And it's like, that's... Well, you do that for a living. You dox people for a living. That's what this whole thing is.
He was calling the New York Health Department to tattletale on the stand that they were having shows there.
So, but that's what I'm saying. So there are, look, I'll be the first to say, it's a hack take to go like, bullying's good. It's not always good. Like, just picking on random kids isn't good. Bullying is good in the context of, like that scene in Full Metal Jacket when he had the jelly donut and then everybody got in trouble and they wailed on him with bars of soap. That's accepted bullying. It's like, you did something. You're fucking my shit up. Now I'm going to beat you up. But Seth Simons is the perfect example of, I'm being picked on. And it's like, then stop fucking with those kids. Stop fucking with them. They're going to keep beating you up. Oh, I hate this man.
Though I cannot definitively prove it, is a person at the heart of the New York City club comedy scene, and others participated in the Gamergate-style campaign that has been conducted against me.
Ugh, me. He's a white woman.
The online forum, just one node in a constellation of similar forums, subreddits, and Discord groups, is not some outlier in the industry. Before I take you down my particular rabbit hole, it's worth establishing the many ways in which the world of comedy and the racist right overlap reinforce each other.
He's insufferable.
The recent comedy boom in popularity understood as an era in which new forms of media like podcasts and streaming videos create massive new audience for comedy.
Two other things that you, by the way, failed at, Seth.
Which in turn created a massive new revenue stream for comedians. At the same time, the artificial intimacy of these platforms allowed fans to feel a level of connection with their favorite performers and with each other. This could verge on the cultish. This was not simply an era of glorious bounty in which little-known comedians would land massive Netflix paydays or leapfrog from UCB comedy to college humor to lucrative sitcom writing gigs. It was also the era of walled-off subcultures like ONAforums.net, which could transform into real, violent political factions, especially at a time when comedy was increasingly pitted against the forces of political correctness, the very forces that also fueled the grievances of Donald Trump supporters, and the chauvinist right, whose credo of owning the libs reads a lot like the traditional comedian's defense of right to insult and be offended.
I want to for those of you that don't really know much about Seth Simons, Seth Simons is known for being a guy that failed at comedy. That's what he did. He did comedy. He did that hipster Brooklyn coffee shop comedy. He was terrible at it. And he ended up somehow starting to become the comedy correspondent for the New York Times. And what he did was he set out after failing at comedy to get back at everybody that ever fucking told him he sucked at it. And now he's literally been out to destroy comedy. It's been this guy has some sort of weird vengeance, this bitter, like, he's angry at them, and he couldn't make it. He's even pointing out in this article, it gave way to all these walled-off communities, and you're angry that you couldn't build one. You're angry that you were neither interesting, charismatic, or funny enough to build a community around yourself. So now you just go around and snitch out everybody to the New York Times. He's the most miserable, spiteful, sad little man in all of fucking comedy, and fucking even at the New York Times, Seth Simons is the biggest loser there.
The mobs that descended on Washington, D.C. last month By the way, this isn't the New York Times. He's in the New Republic.
Oh, he's in the New Republic. Well, he used to write stuff for the New York Times.
Yeah, I'm just letting you know this article.
Sorry.
The mobs that descended on Washington, D.C. last month have intellectual roots in many places going back to the bloody beginnings of this country. But they also have roots in specific areas of modern culture, including Facebook, BuzzFeed, and the increasingly online world of comedy. All the forces that incubate the rioters are still there, unchanged, chugging along as normal. The rot goes much deeper than you might expect.
Do you know why you're not funny, Seth? Because this is how your brain works. Your brain works in this ass nerd kind of way, where it's like you want to write about the painful birth of this nation while talking about a couple of New York clubs that sell overpriced, watered-down drinks while you watch Rich Voss go, come on, settle down, like, or whatever the fuck. Like, that's all it is. These sort of like Brooklyn hipster people are the ones that ruined comedy because they're the ones that came out with the, why can't we speak truth to power and make comedy like a high art form? And it's like, it's not. It's literally guys showing up to a club, telling some fucking dick jokes, you buying drinks, and everybody goes home. When you overthink it, you suck at comedy. Seth Simons sucked at comedy. That makes me violently angry.
If the far right's origins in comedy are ill appreciated, they were never particularly secret. By his own account, Gavin McInnes created the Proud Boys on Compound Media, a subscriber-based digital network where he hosted a talk show from 2015 to 2017. Originally called the Anthony Cumia Network, Compound Media was created in 2014 by Cumia, the Anthony half of Opie and Anthony, after his firing from SiriusXM over a series of racist tweets. The Gavin McInnes Show, like many other programs on the self-styled Free Speech Network, was not shy about its politics. Over the show's 407 episodes, McInnes spoke glowingly of right-wing violence, proudly declared himself a racist, and regularly used the N-word, among other slurs. When a caller questioned his interracial marriage in 2016, McInnes responded that he had children with a woman of color because he's cleaning up the races. Look, whether you like McInnes or not, McInnes was clearly making up. He was clearly making a joke. Even reading it, I could tell that's a joke.
And I hate to admit it, but Gavin can be funny sometimes.
Gavin, of course, can be funny.
He says funny shit sometimes, and I'm like, God damn, that was good.
The pretense of irony hung over everything he said, but the pretense is all it ever was. Compound Media was where telling jokes gave way to saying what you meant jokingly. Remember now, comedy always used to be like, you should be able to joke about anything. You should be fucking people like Bill Hicks, the amount of comedians that fought for you to say whatever the fuck you wanted. And now these fucking nerds that have infected every other medium, everything, they've infected everything, are also trying to come into comedy and tell you, you're not allowed to joke about that, sweaty. If your joke isn't about Orange Man bad, get off the stage. Fuck you. The reason that these walled-off communities were created it was a reaction to the shit you're doing.
It was to get away from you.
Yeah, it was a reaction to this. This is reactionary.
When these communities started, too, they weren't fucking with you. They weren't fucking with you, dude. They just, like you said, they were walled off. They just wanted to have that little area and go like, look, man, I'm never going to be on SNL. I'm never going to get a TV deal. YouTube's never going to push us up in the algorithm. So let's cut a deal. Let's all just go over here. We'll leave you alone. You leave us alone. The problem is you just simply are incapable of leaving people alone. It's inherent in certain people who, are in the media, journalists in general are just terrible. And again, Seth is a guy that you can tell from his old videos, he really wanted to be a comedian, but he wasn't funny.
Hack the Movies says, who cares about Compound Media? It's all about Opie Radio.
True.
That's a good
How
point.
come Opie Radio's not getting any write-ups?
Because he can't do the sunsets anymore because of COVID. That'll do it every single time, man.
What, you don't want to watch 50 of the same videos of a middle-aged guy with the camera pointed at the Hudson River while he's going, dude, I don't even care anymore. I don't even care anymore. I'm so past it.
You don't want to do that anymore? I think that's great. When McInnes founded the Proud Boys in 2016, he used TGMS as a recruitment tool. This, in his monologue and call-in segments, he laid out the organization's principles and customs, chief among which was its ideology of Western chauvinism, a belief in the superiority of Western civilization and the white people supposedly responsible for it. White males are a big part of what make the West great, he told the caller without question.
They are.
But he's again, Gavin is correct.
You know what I love? One of my favorite copes that I always hear from, like, especially about black people, is they always go, black people built this nation. And you're like, do you honestly think they used slaves to build cathedrals and city halls and like these big plantation houses? Do you really think slaves were used to gather materials to pick cotton? It's like just a thing they did. They were used for farming. They were used for labor. But do you really think that, like, I love when they go, slaves built this country. No, let's be fair. A bunch of greaseball Italian stonemasons were brought over and paid next to nothing. The Chinese and the Italians built this country, and the supervised them. That's, if we're being fair.
And the Dutch was their Uber.
That's really pretty much it.
Yeah.
They just kept bringing over ships of lumber.
Yeah. Despite his concerns that the openly element of the far right were bad for his brand, McGinnis didn't hesitate to associate with them. His guests were a who's who of contemporary far right: Milo, Richard Spencer, Unite the Right rally organizer Jason Kessler. Okay, we've interviewed him. Christopher Cantwell, Mike Cernovich, Faith Goldie, Bruce V, even former K leader David Duke, who makes the mayonnaise.
I'm sorry.
Dr. David Duke.
David Duke, okay?
Put some respect on his name.
He didn't get some dodgy fucking doctorate in some made-up category for you to disrespect him like that.
In retrospect, the Gavin McGinnis Show's function was not just to introduce the comedy world to the world.
That's what it was.
What a leap. What a fucking leap. But to let one legitimize the other. At this time, McGinnis was wildly successful, his influence long outlasting, and his own tenure in the New York comedy scene. In 2017, Dave Smith, Dave Smith, used a
Dave Smith.
TG. Well, it's funny you say
White
that.
Neo skinhead Dave Smith.
Dave Smith used a TGMS guest hosting spot to interview Richard Spencer and Christopher Cantwell, giving both a friendly platform to lay out their vision for a white ethno-state. By then, he and the other two Legion of Skank members had left Compound Media for a network founded by Gomez, Gas Digital, where they
I'm going to win this bingo, watch.
Where they carried out the TGMS tradition: racism, sexism, homophobia, transphobia, and flirtation with the far right. Today,
if he mentions the stand, I get bingo. I'm waiting for. I got my little, the little boop things, the ink things. I'm sitting here with my cards all laid out, and I'm like, come on, give it to me. Give me the stand.
Today's Legion of Skanks holds a considerable sway in comedy with a massive platform. He's jealous. It lent everyone who's anyone in the New York club scene, while remaining true to its far right roots. In 2019, it hosted Milo. After his fall from grace, in 2018, Gomez angrily chased a fan out of a recording when the man pointed out a Proud Boy in the audience. You were joking, this next sentence. Dave Smith, a Nazi sympathizer who believes run forces that are killing society, has become a powerful voice in the right flank of the Libertarian Party.
I've never, honestly, maybe I don't listen to enough Dave Smith, but I don't ever hear Dave Smith doing JQ stuff.
Yeah, neither do I. Maybe I'm wrong here.
Like, I don't think Dave Smith is the kind of guy to deny, like, certain industries, certain seem to favor them, but, like, I don't think Dave Smith would be out there going, you know what the problem is?
Yeah, I don't think he does that. He's used his own podcast on Gas Digital to pal around with white supremacists like Cantwell, Spencer, and Nick Fuentes. Now, pal around. So this is the new thing that's happening, right? Whenever you have somebody on, even if you completely disagree with them, and you have them on your show to have a discussion and be like, hey, man, why do you think the way you think? And you have a back and forth. Now you're palling around. Larry King has had Klan members, skinheads. Go down the fucking list of the fucking people that Larry King's had on his show. Was he palling around with them? You're allowed to interview whoever the fuck you want.
And by your own standards, then, why was Tim Heidecker palling around with Nick Fuentes?
That's a good point.
Why were Vic Berger and Tim Heidecker having a fucking laugh fest with their good friend Nick Fuentes. You see how stupid that sounds?
Yep.
So it's these guys are so selective in their outrage, and I'm trying to really think. I don't think there's anybody right now out there in this like sphere that I hate more than Seth Simons. He's the most despicable person anywhere in around New York comedy. He's the worst.
If I can use the government to do horrific things to the left, I will, because they've been doing horrific things to us for centuries. Cantwell told him after the Unite the Right rally in 2017. Smith agreed. It's almost like you're having a conversation with somebody and they punch you in the face. The only logical response is to get up and fight. Would extremism have found such a loving home in comedy without McGinnis? Maybe. Much of the blame also goes to the man who gave him a platform during the alt-right's formative years. Anthony Cumia, a racist Trump supporter who pled guilty to domestic abuse charges in 2016. Cumia certainly shares much of McGinnis's ideology. He spent 6 years with reactionaries like Ann Coulter, Alex Jones, we've had him on the show, Donald Trump Jr. on Compound Media's program, The Anthony Cumia Show with Dave Landau. The network as a whole straddles the same world as TGMS. On one side, it's a breeding ground for far-right ideology. On the other, regular old gig for pretty much every club comic in New York City. Yeah, if by a fucking right thing you mean people still doing Goodfellas impressions and stuff, then yeah, you're in the right place. In some cases, the line is completely blurred. Compound host Chrissy Marr has lately delved deep into the conspiracy theories, believing and spreading them, that is, and attending the protest at Capitol Hill on January 6th. Aaron Berg and Gino Bisconti host In Hot Water, a show whose recurring segments include Black Guy of the Day, ISIS, and Rap of the Day. These comics are all regulars at the New York City club. You got your thing? You got your thing for bingo?
Bingo! What did I tell you?
The Stand!
Ooh, that's a bingo.
Is that the way you say it? That's a bingo.
You just say bingo. Bingo! How fun!
Thank you. This guy is such a fucking one-note loser. It's the same fucking song. He's been playing the same tune for like 4 years now. This guy is such a fucking jealous loser.
Oh, can I point out that Dave Smith is Jewish? Mm-hmm. It's unlikely many bookers know they built their followings on a network that caters to far right, but some do. Okay, hey, fucker. Even if you get rid of all the far right people, they're still not going to book you, Seth. You get that, right? You're still not going to get the gig. You could try to get rid of everybody, but you're not funny enough to do it yourself. See, there's the difference.
They're still going to find somebody who will say the woke shit you say, but be funny. You're never going to be funny. That's the problem. Do you know why? Do you know why people like doing stuff on Gas Digital and like doing stuff with Louis J. Gomez and like doing stuff with these guys at the Stand? Because, at least from our experience, that they treat people really nicely.
Yeah, they're very nice.
They're funny guys. They do funny shit. And, like, it's a good time. Like, you go, you do their show, and you go, these guys are great. It's a blast. Like, everybody's being nice. They're inviting you places. I didn't get any vibe that anybody there was hosting any secret Klan rallies. In fact, everybody I met at Gas Digital had the same mission, which was like, you want to go get fucked up somewhere? Because there's this place we can go get fucked up, but there's also this place we can go get fucked up. And you'd be like, oh, let's go get fucked up.
No, Jay Okerson invited me to a Klan rally.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, he wears the gloves to cover up swastikas he has on his hands.
He's got a bunch of fucking, he's got some words, let's just say.
Mm-hmm.
He's got words on his knuckles that he doesn't want Dave Smith to see.
Yeah. Specifically. I'm just putting it to you that way, okay? Let's just say he told me he wished he had 14 fingers.
And 88 toes.